Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kim McDaniel. I am here on behalf of VACRAO for your virtual college exploration for all Virginia students. I've got some great panelists with me today, but I wanted to go over a few things really quickly. If you have a question for these lovely ladies at any point in time, please use the Q&A button and you can type your questions in there and they can answer them as they're going through. Your camera and microphone are off, so this is the only way that you can communicate with them during this time. Also, if you have to leave for any point in time, these recordings will be available on strivescan.com/Virginia. And if you're interested in sitting in on any other sessions that we're offering, you can also go to strivescan.com/Virginia and register for those sessions there. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to our panelists.
Hi, everyone. On behalf of my colleagues from WU, Alabama, Tennessee, I'd like to say hello and thank you for joining us today. My name is Stacey Thomas. I'm with Johnson & Wales University. Mandy, next slide, please. Yes, I'm Stacey Thomas with Johnson & Wales.
I'm sorry, and I was muted. I'm Mandy Weaver, and I'm with West Virginia University.
I'm Elizabeth Dugas with the University of Alabama.
And I'm Amanda Wolk, and I'm with the University of Tennessee.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So when you think about finding the right fit for you, next slide, Mandy. When you think about what is best for you in this process, we want you to think about 4 things. And so the acronym would be SLAM. And we want you to consider size, location, academics, and money. Next slide, please. So in terms of size, I think it's really important to consider that there are going to be multiple options that are going to be great options for you in this college search process. Every college has something great to offer. And so really, as you whittle down where you plan to apply and ultimately where you plan to attend, it really depends on your personality and your future goals and what you need that university to be for you. And so in terms of size, we want you to think about where you see yourself fitting in. Do you love watching, football on Saturdays with the big football teams, with televised sporting events? Those are going to be your larger universities. And generally speaking, a larger university will be about 15 to 50,000 students. Most often, they are public institutions. And so, on the other side, in terms of academics, a lot of times at these larger universities, you're going to have research opportunities, and you're going to have hundreds of opportunities to join clubs and organizations. And so there are a lot of positives to finding a larger university. Or maybe on the flip side, you might want to have a smaller experience. And so small class sizes starting from day one. You just know that you need to be in a learning environment where you can always raise your hand and ask a question. So maybe you're not sure what you want your major to be. And I will say that most schools work very well with students who aren't sure what they want their major to be. But at a smaller school, you might be able to take 2 things and combine them very easily and have the flexibility to kind of design your own program. And so when we say a smaller university, we're talking about schools somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000 students. A lot of times, these are private institutions. Certainly, there are exceptions to that. There are some public universities that are about 5,000 students, but generally you're looking at private institutions. And then maybe you want a little bit of both. Maybe you love the research opportunities, but you want the smaller class sizes, whatever that might be for you. That's going to be a solid medium-sized university. And so when we think about that in terms of size, 5 to 15,000 students generally is a medium-sized university with plenty of public and private options for you. So size is really just one of 4 things that we want you to consider. So I think Elizabeth is going to talk about location next.
It's actually me. I'll talk about location. And location is definitely something that you really want to consider as well. Um, you know, out of these four in the acronym, they're all equally important. But location, some of the things that you should think about: how close do you want to be to home? Think about that first. Do you want to be within driving distance, or do you want to be far away, or somewhere in between? Um, you really, when you're considering the location of your institution, you definitely need to search yourself and be realistic with yourself, because I know, just from my own experience, I always thought I'm going to go far away, and it's I want to be away from home, away from my family. I just want to go and do it, and I ended up going to WVU, which was an hour from where I grew up. So it just depends on what you're you know really what you're comfortable with, but you have to ask yourself these questions and really get to know yourself, and be realistic about it. So is there a particular part of the region or the country that maybe you're interested in? Maybe you've visited an area before and you really like the area, so you want to search institutions there, or maybe you prefer sunshine over cold, places that are sunny and warmer longer throughout the year, that kind of thing. So think about that. And then kind of the setting that the institution is in. Do you want an urban area, maybe like a large city, or something a little bit more suburban outside of the city within range to get there? Maybe you like more of a rural environment, which smaller towns, and more of a low key, laid back atmosphere, or a college town, which is kind of like the community is sort of built around the university, and the university is really the heart of the area. So there's all different settings, and again, by visiting and, or now doing virtual options, this will give you more of an idea of the setting or the atmosphere of the community that the institution is in. How often do you plan on coming home? You may not have even thought about that yet, but for sure that you're going to have to come home during some of the major holiday breaks, so at least maybe 2 to 3 times a year. But if you think you may come home more than that, then you might want to be a little bit closer to home if it's going to be easier and more, financially feasible for you to travel back and forth that way. If you don't plan on coming home that much outside of the major holiday breaks, then you don't have to think about that as much. But really consider how many times you think you may want to come home for your situation. And then, is it going to be easy for you to travel back and forth like that from school to home? If that's important to you, um, what are some of the options? And then, how close is the transportation? So wherever you go to school, what are the transportation options? Is there an airport nearby, a bus system? Or, if you're going to be driving, can you have a car on campus? That kind of, stuff you'd want to think about. And then, I already kind of mentioned this, but what's the climate or the weather like in that area? And that's important, because eh, it plays a big part in your comfort level while you're there. It's not, I wouldn't totally base my options on that, but it can definitely make a difference. It all goes together. You factor in all of these questions, and think about this all together, and you can narrow your choices down pretty quickly. And then finally, what's there to do off campus? If you um, don't want to only have on-campus activities like student clubs and organizations and the things that they do, then what's available for you to do off campus? Are there places you can go if you like to shop? Are there good restaurants around? Are there different events and activities that happen throughout the year within the community? Or are there places nearby? Maybe it doesn't have to be necessarily right in the town that it's in, but at least are there areas nearby where maybe you would have something to do? If that's important to you, then think about all of that, put it on your list when you're researching institutions, and it will definitely help you to decide what may be the best fit for you. So next we are going to talk about academics, and I believe that's Amanda. Yeah, I'll get the slide changed for you.
All right. So obviously a really important part of your decision is going to be based on the academics and the support services and things like that that are available to you at different schools. You definitely want to take a look at the majors that are offered and try to make sure that schools have majors that you are interested in, but also don't rule out schools just because they don't have a specific major. You could always change your mind, and there's also always different ways that you can get to your end goal eventually. Like if you want to be an athletic trainer, you don't necessarily have to major in athletic training. You could major in something like kinesiology. I think a lot of students think that if they want to go to med school or law school, there has to be a med school or law school on that campus. And that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes you can do a pre-law program, or you could do biology, or you could do nuclear engineering if you want to go to med school. So there are lots of different ways that you can get to your end goal, but just make sure that you're evaluating what academics are available. And maybe if you don't know what you want to major in, some schools aren't going to admit you directly to your major. So also consider that. There are liberal arts schools that are going to start you in a general curriculum. And then there's other schools that are maybe going to ask you to pick a major, but also find out what kind of support services are offered to students that are wanting to be undeclared or don't know what they want to major in yet. It's totally okay to not know what you want to major in, but make sure you're asking about how the school is going to support you as you make a decision into what you want to major in. Also look at the average class size and the student to faculty ratio. I know Stacey kind of talked about size, so I think it kind of fits into that as well. Do you not do well in really, really large classes? Do you do better if you're in really small classes? So make sure you're looking at what the average class sizes are. Student to faculty ratio are very, very important if the size is an issue for you. How do you like to learn? Do you want to be sitting in the classroom? Are you going to look for schools that have experiential opportunities to where you can really do hands-on learning, service learning, things like that? So consider what format you do best learning, and ask colleges when you're interacting with admissions counselors, ask them what their classes are like. Those are some really good questions that you can ask to learn more about an institution. I mentioned briefly experiential opportunities. Look at what kind of internships and co-ops are available. Look at what kind of research schools are doing. Is there research going on at these institutions? Is that something that you're interested in? Study abroad. Obviously, nobody's studying abroad right now. Hopefully that's something that will get back to normal, but ask and find out what kind of opportunities are there. Are there places you want to go? Are there a wide variety of offerings for you? So I think what you do outside of the classroom is very, very important, and that can really kind of help supplement what you're doing inside the classroom. So definitely find out what kind of experiential opportunities there are at different schools. Also look into the academic support services. Is there tutoring? Is there academic coaching? If you have a learning difference, what kind of support is there going to be for you? Most schools are going to have a pretty good amount of academic support, but find out how easy they are to obtain. How readily available are support services? I think it's a big jump for everybody to go from high school to college. The learning is definitely a lot different. So you want to make sure that you're going to a place where you're going to be supported both inside and outside of the classroom. Career services is something that's very important. For, again, students that don't know what they want to major in, are they going to help you to figure that out? Do they offer services like resume writing or helping you with interviews? Also, look to see what graduates are doing. What kind of companies are students being employed at, both for internships and also for when they graduate. So definitely look at what the outcomes are at different institutions and see if students are being successfully placed in jobs when they graduate. And also make sure you're assessing your chances at being admitted. It's kind of some words you might hear around this are reach, target, and likely. You know, you don't want to apply to a bunch of Ivy League schools if you don't have a very high GPA. You want to apply to a lot of different schools and schools that you feel like you have a chance of being admitted to, because there's nothing worse than, you know, applying to a bunch of schools and not getting in or not having a lot of different options. So definitely look at kind of what average GPAs are. You know, schools have a profile of what their admitted students look like. So look at schools that you feel like you're a good match with academically, and that you can be, you know, hopefully admitted to these colleges. So academics are a huge piece of the puzzle when you're trying to decide where to go to school. So hopefully this was helpful. And next we will learn about money from Elizabeth.
All right, everybody. So money, not to put a damper on all of the fun, but you got to be able to pay for it, or somebody has to be able to pay for your college education. So it's definitely a conversation that you have to have. So my best recommendation is have an honest financial conversation early in the process. So students, parents, guardians need to have a conversation about what money there is available, what kind of college fund has been established, whether there is a college fund, how large is the college fund, what amounts a family may be able to contribute to the education per year, what amounts the student may be able to contribute to the education per year. So you just need to make sure you start with that so that you know where you stand, and that can kind of shape your college search to some degree. So if you know that there is no college fund, then you probably don't want to be looking at a lot of really expensive schools or far away schools or out of state schools. So you want to just make sure that you have that frame of reference from the beginning. But keep in mind, don't focus on sticker price, use the net price calculator on each college's website. So while I just said you may not be wanting to look at private schools or far away schools, just because their sticker price is higher, that doesn't mean that you will always be paying more. So do keep in mind that students at every college pay all different amounts. And most students don't pay the sticker price. So they don't pay exactly what is posted on the website as the full cost of tuition fees, room, board, you know, expenses. Most students end up paying some type of discounted price based on scholarships and or financial aid. So every college is required to have a net price calculator on their admissions page of their website, and you can put your information in there. So your financial information, your academic information. And so then you can see what is likely that a student with your credentials will be paying. So if because you are a lower income student, you may be able to get substantial financial aid, that will be taken into account. Or but if because of your academics, you may be able or likely to get some scholarship merit-based aid, then that will be taken into account as well in the net price calculator. So don't just look at tuition, and definitely don't have that be your first question that you ask a college rep, you know, what's the tuition? Because that really doesn't give you the big picture about what you would actually be paying. So one legitimate question to ask, though, is whether a college meets full demonstrated need. Most schools that do meet full demonstrated need are going to be highly selective, mostly private, and occasionally highly selective in-state publics. An out-of-state public is very unlikely, I would say almost zero chance that they would be able to tell you that they can meet your full demonstrated need. And schools that are not highly selective can't meet full demonstrated need either because they admit too many students to do that. But that's definitely a legitimate question to ask, especially if you are looking at highly selective schools and private schools. As far as scholarships go, consider looking at colleges where your academic profile significantly exceeds their averages. So don't just look at what Amanda was talking about earlier as reach schools, where your GPA and test score, if you're applying with a test score, where your school, the schools are much higher than yours, they aren't likely to give you any scholarship dollars. The schools where you're likely to earn merit scholarship dollars are those where your scores, your GPA and or test scores are substantially higher than the school's average. So like, for example, if you have a 4.4 GPA, and if you've taken a test and you've got a 1550 on the SAT, then a school that has, say, a 1200 average and maybe a 3.5 GPA, they're likely to give you a substantial amount of merit aid. So that can definitely bring your costs down. So that's something to keep in mind. And that is, again, going back to what Amanda was saying, you want to make sure that you're applying to a variety of schools. Don't just focus on those that are a reach, because that can definitely help your money focus if you do apply to some schools that you are definitely very, very likely to be admitted to and likely to get dollars from. As far as the financial aid side of things go, the FAFSA opens every year on October 1st, meaning that if you are a senior now, it is already open. So if you haven't done it yet, I highly recommend doing it as soon as possible. Many schools now, because it opens earlier than it used to, many schools have actually backed up their financial aid deadlines or their priority financial aid deadlines earlier than they used to be in prior years. So like December 1st is a pretty reasonable deadline or priority deadline for submitting your FAFSA. So go ahead and make sure that you get it submitted as soon as possible if you haven't already. And of course, if you are not a senior, then October 1st of your senior year is when to pull that out. And you will need your tax information for the prior year. So the taxes that you filed in spring of that year, you'll need that to complete the FAFSA, and you'll need that for your guardians as well. And then some colleges have a separate scholarship application. Many colleges do not. But if a college that you're looking at does have a separate scholarship application, then you definitely want to make sure you submit it. Otherwise, you risk leaving scholarship dollars on the table. So if they do, so check with each college that you're looking at and see if they do have a separate application. And then just be sure that if they do, to complete it, do it thoroughly, do it well. Don't be afraid to brag, and definitely do it well in advance of the deadline. Finally, for scholarships from external sources, those are things that are usually you can use at any accredited school. So no matter what college you end up attending, if you've been awarded external scholarship dollars, you can typically take it there as long as that school is regionally accredited. So always check with your school counselor. They usually have some local scholarships posted, and they are aware of some local resources for scholarships, as well as some national resources for scholarships as well. And then some websites to check outside of your school counseling office: fastweb.com, scholarships.com, and goingmerry.com. Those are scholarship sites that they usually have different applications you can fill out. In some cases, I know in the case of Going Merry, there's one scholarship application that you fill out and it gets submitted for several different scholarships, and you can be considered for many ones. And the more of those that you submit, the more likely you are to be awarded dollars. Usually those stack on top of each other and on top of the scholarship dollars that you are awarded by a school. Although occasionally your financial aid package could be reduced if you do get external scholarships. So that's one thing to ask at the schools that you're applying to see if that will affect your package from the school. But usually they stack on top of what you get from the school, stack on top of each other. And don't be afraid to apply for some of the smaller ones. Some people think, well, college is $60,000 a year. What's the point of applying for a $500 scholarship? But if everybody has that approach, then no one's going to get that $500 scholarship, and that money is just going to be left on the table. So if only a few people apply for the $500 scholarship, that just means that your chances of getting that $500 scholarship just went up. So don't be afraid to apply for some of the smaller ones, or some of them that require essays, because again, that can deter other people from applying, and that could increase your chances of being awarded those external scholarships.
Okay, so in terms of finding your fit, right now we recognize that we're all operating in unprecedented times. And so some colleges are offering on-campus tours right now. I know a lot of colleges actually are offering on-ground tours. They might be limited in the scope of what you would see. You may not be entering as many buildings as you would have maybe this time last year, but a lot of universities are trying to welcome prospective students to campus. But having said that, there are a lot of universities that are offering virtual experiences as well. And so you might find virtual open houses or info sessions, or you could sign up for a virtual daily tour. So you literally will be walking around the campus being led by an admissions person virtually. And so we are trying to get as many opportunities to you as possible as you explore colleges from home. Another way to kind of get a sense of what a school is about is to sign up for the college visits that are coming to your high schools. So Elizabeth and Amanda and Mandy and I, all day, every day, we are visiting colleges within our assigned territories. So we would love to speak with students that have questions. And for a lot of students, this is a way to really meet in a personal way with the person who will be reviewing your application. And so it's always a great idea if you can get information directly from the source to sign up and meet with colleges attending your high schools. If we aren't going to be at your school or your dream school isn't visiting your high school, we encourage you to pick up the phone or send an email and definitely connect with the university that you're applying to if you have a question. Many of your questions will be answered on their website. As Elizabeth mentioned, we're all going to have our tuition amount listed directly on our website, and we'll have a net price calculator for you. So that might not be the best question to ask us. But if you have an admissions related question or you have a question about residential life, we are here for you and able to send you to the right departments. I will mention that right now, it's a really good idea to be checking your email on a regular basis. Certainly check it about every day. This is our primary source or method of communicating with you, is sending you emails. And so if we need something for your application or we're missing a piece, we're probably going to send you an email on that. If there are opportunities to come visit our campus, we're probably going to send you an email about that, or maybe a special program designed just for students who are interested in the same major as you. So please check your email. It'd be great if you could respond. And I would be really cautious about what your email is. If your email in any way, shape, or form isn't professional, I would highly encourage you to just sign up for a free Gmail or Yahoo account where you have a very professional email. In addition to that, it actually serves as a separate account. So our emails aren't getting lost in and amongst the shuffle of your other maybe personal emails that are coming through. So that's important. And of course, we all have social media sites. So follow us on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. We're going to be posting pictures about things that are happening on our campuses. We're going to be sending links to maybe new information that just came out. So we want to keep you updated through social media. So at this point, Mandy, are we going into our colleges? All right, and I'll just remind you all, if you have any questions for us, please ask in the chat. All 5 of us or 4 of us are here today to answer your questions however we can. But what we thought, since there are no questions in the chat, is we just wanted to introduce you to our universities. I mentioned I'm with Johnson & Wales University. We are defined within the SLAM acronym that we just presented to you. We are a smaller university because we have 2 campuses. We have 6,700 students on this campus here. It's our Providence, Rhode Island campus. And so that would be considered a small to medium-sized campus size. Class sizes will be small, capped at 35 students for all of our classes. And in terms of location, Providence is a little further away, but it's exciting. It's a little different than Virginia. Academics, we have over 70 different programs of study. And in terms of money, I will mention that we award our academic scholarships, our merit-based awards, through the admissions process. So there's not a separate application. And Mandy, if you'll just pull up the next slide, this is just a picture of our Charlotte campus. When you're admitted to Johnson & Wales, you're admitted to both campuses. And if your major is offered on both, you can go back and forth between the 2. So I just throw that out there in terms of location. If you wanted to do part of your time in Providence up north, and then if you wanted to spend part of your time in a really fast growing metropolitan area a little further south, you'd have that option. Okay, so I think Mandy's going to introduce WU next.
Yes, thank you, Stacey. Yeah, so hello again. This is Mandy Weaver with West Virginia University, and I'll just tell you a little bit about our school. So we are, trying to multitask here. So this is a picture of our downtown area of campus. We're in Morgantown, West Virginia. We're about 4 hours from DC and about 1 hour and 15 minutes south of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So in the northern part of our state. We're a pretty big school. We have just under 27,000 total students who attend WVU from every state in the United States and the district in about 118 different countries. So our campus is laid out into 3 areas. This is the downtown area. Then we have the Evansdale side of our campus, and we have a comprehensive health sciences program with a health sciences campus and a hospital on site. Just some pictures to show you. This picture in the bottom right corner is of Evansdale, and it shows the Student Recreation Center located right in the middle, the big building with the green roofing. And then just some other academic buildings, academic departments housed on Evansdale are education, agriculture, creative arts, engineering, physical activity, and sports sciences. So WVU has 14 colleges and schools with 140 undergraduate majors, 142 minors to offer as well. Most of our housing is on this side of the campus, although we do have residence halls on the downtown part of the campus. We are very close to lots of cool outdoor recreational opportunities. You can see the whitewater rafting picture there. That's from our Adventure West Virginia group that takes it out every summer. They have different trips that they go on. And then the picture in the top right is just of some students who had study abroad. This is our transit system. It's the PRT, our people mover. There are 5 stations across the 3 campus areas, and this is the main way that our students get around since our campus is a little bit spread out. And a little bit about student life. There's a lot to do outside of the classroom. We have over 480 different student clubs and organizations you can choose from, everything from Greek life to, community service-based organizations to those that are organized specifically around your major to complement your academic program. We're D1 when it comes to athletics. We have 18 division level varsity 1 sports. We're in the Big 12, but then we also have a ton of club sports and intramural sports for our students. And some other programming we offer, this is just a sampling, but we have WVU Up All Night, which is a program that's held every weekend for students in our student union, and it serves as an alternative activity than maybe going out or that nightlife experience. You can go, there's different activities that are planned each weekend, and they serve free food till 3 a.m. And then we have our Media Innovation Center and Launch Lab, where if you are interested in starting your own business, you can go to the Launch Lab, and our experts there will help you do that. And then we have some different centers for, our student groups on campus, our Center for Black Culture and Student Research, and our LGBTQ+ Center. And these are just a few things that I wanted to share with you. All right, Amanda's up next with Tennessee. Thank you, guys.
All right, so next we're going to learn a little bit about the University of Tennessee. First, Mandy will go to the next slide. I will talk about our location. We are located in Knoxville, Tennessee. So we are in a city, and we are actually right in the middle of downtown Knoxville. But our campus is very enclosed within the city. So when you're on campus, it almost kind of feels like a small college town. Everything's very centrally located, not going to be more than about a 10 or 15 walk to get to most places. But then you step off campus, and you're right in the middle of downtown Knoxville, where there's always something fun going on, lots of great restaurants, and then also good co-op and internship opportunities for our students. So I love our location. Our front yard is a Tennessee River, and our backyard is a Great Smoky Mountains. So if you like outdoorsy stuff, we have tons of things that you can do to explore the great outdoors, whether you want to go kayaking or paddleboarding near campus, or about an hour away is a Great Smoky Mountains National Park, which is the most visited national park in the country. There's over 1,000 miles of hiking trails in the eastern part of Tennessee, so lots of great outdoor opportunities. As far as our location from you guys, we are about 8 hours from Northern Virginia, about 6 hours from Richmond, and about 4 hours or so from Roanoke. So drivable, but we do have an airport about 15 minutes from campus, and we are within a day's drive of half of the United States population. So lots of fun weekend road trips our students can take. We're about 2 hours from Asheville, North Carolina, about 2.5 hours from Nashville, and about 3 hours from Atlanta. So I love our location. It's honestly one of my favorite things about the University of Tennessee. So moving on to the next slide, just tell you a little bit more about the university, kind of in the context of some of the things that we've talked about today in SLAM. We have about 24,000 undergraduate students. I think it's a great size because you get all the perks of a big school. We have big Division I athletics. Actually, our football stadium is one of the top 5 largest stadiums in the country. We are a Tier 1 research institution, so lots of great research opportunities, but it still can feel pretty small. We have a 17-to-1 student to faculty ratio, and 71% of our classes have 50 students or less. We offer over 360 different programs of study, so we pretty much have anything that you could want to major in. I think, like we talked about in my academic slide, that major is very important. So at a big school like UT, there are tons of different majors that are available to you. We have over 600 clubs and organizations, so tons of stuff you can get involved in. Intramural and club sports are popular on our campus. We have about 40 different club teams. We also have Greek life on campus. About 25% of our students are involved in fraternities and sororities. So there are tons of things that you can do both inside and outside of the classroom at UT. 89% of our students receive financial aid and scholarships. We do have a lot of great scholarship opportunities for our students. So it can be affordable to go out of state. We also participate in something called the Academic Common Market. So there are 8 majors at UT that you can actually get in-state tuition for because they're not offered in the state of Virginia. But 89% of our students receive financial aid and scholarships, like I said, and half of our students graduate with no student loan debt. So that's something we're very proud of. And also talking about career outcomes, 84% of graduates report they're employed or in graduate school within 6 months of graduation. So all kind of some things that I talked about or that we've talked about throughout the course of the presentation. And then just going on to the next slide, just wanted to show kind of some pretty pictures of campus and of Knoxville, just to give you an idea for our setting. And then of course, I had to throw in a picture of Smokey, who's our mascot. I think Smokey is the cutest mascot in all of college sports, but he is very beloved on our campus. We have a birthday party for him every year, and he has actually 10 statues of him around campus. So we would love for you to come see our gorgeous campus. We are doing campus tours right now. So in addition to all the virtual things that we offer, you can also actually come to our campus and go on a tour. So next, we're going to turn over to Elizabeth, who's going to tell us more about the University of Alabama.
All right, guys. So the University of Alabama, framing all of this in the context of SLAM, we are a large school. So size-wise, we are the largest of the 4 schools in this presentation. We have over 32,000 undergraduates on our campus and another 5,000 to 6,000 graduate students as well. We are located in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So you can see this overhead drone shot here. That's just the center of our campus. Our campus is actually, of course, much larger than that. But we're in the city of Tuscaloosa. It has about 600,000 people in the metro area, so it's considered a medium-sized city. So I believe we're going to be probably a little larger than Morgantown, a little smaller than Knoxville. Tuscaloosa itself only has about 150,000 people in Tuscaloosa proper, but the university is located right in the middle of the city. So it's a mid-sized city, and it's kind of also a bit of a college town because the university is the largest thing in Tuscaloosa. So things are somewhat centered around our campus, but we're not walled off or anything. We're just a part of the city and a mile from the downtown Tuscaloosa area. And we're located in Alabama, obviously. We are the state flagship university of the state of Alabama, and we're about 4 hours from the Gulf Coast and 3 hours from Atlanta and about an hour from Birmingham, which is where our commercial airport is. So we don't have a commercial airport in Tuscaloosa. So students do fly in and out of Birmingham unless they happen to have their own planes. But otherwise, you also can take the train to get there. The train does go right into downtown Tuscaloosa. It's called the Crescent, and it comes from Virginia to get there. It goes actually right through the city where I'm zooming with you from. And you can also have a car on campus. All of our students are allowed to have cars, including freshmen, so you can drive to campus as well. As far as academics go, we have 8 degree grading colleges on our campus, as well as an honors college. So any majors that fall into arts and sciences, business, communication, education, engineering human environmental sciences, nursing, and social work. We have all of those majors that fall into those categories on our campus. We are a Carnegie R1 research university, so we do have undergraduate research opportunities in all of those majors. And we also are ranked number 2 in the country by the Princeton Review for internship placement. So good opportunities to get hands-on experience in your academic field while you are an undergrad. You can also double major or double minor. I actually double minored, but people never really ask about that. And you can also design your own major through what we call New College, which is housed within the College of Arts and Sciences. And then as far as money goes, we are definitely well known for our scholarships. So we award scholarships. Traditionally, it's been based on GPA and test score. So if you have a GPA over a 3.0 or 3.5, those are the 2 benchmarks, and test scores over 1,200, then you would automatically qualify for one of our merit-based scholarships. And as the test score goes up or the GPA goes up, the amount of scholarship money can go up. So you can get it to cover just about the full cost of tuition if you are very strong academically. The same is true if you are a National Merit finalist. We have a very generous package for National Merit finalists as well. That includes housing and some stipend money too. But we also have a new scholarship chart this year that is our competitive scholarship chart. So that is for students who either don't have test scores or have lower test scores that don't put them onto the merit scholarship chart. So based on that, we would look at your GPA and then also your scholarship application. So we are one of those schools that does require a separate scholarship application. We would look at that along with your GPA and be able to award you a competitive scholarship, the highest amount being the same as it is for our merit-based scholarships. But that's without a test score or without regard to your test scores. So we're pretty excited about that this year. I know a lot of other schools did go test optional this year, but not necessarily for scholarships. So even though we do rely heavily on test scores in prior years, I like that we were able to go test optional this year for both admission and scholarships, and also for honors college admission as well. And that's all I have. So I think Amanda's going.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did have a question that was in the chat. What if you don't know what you want to major in? Can you change your major throughout the year? That's a great question, but that's really going to depend on the university. You know, some schools, you don't even come in under a major. Other schools are going to be more flexible in letting you change your major. Some, like at the University of Tennessee, we have majors like nursing and engineering and architecture that have different admissions requirements. And so while you could change to almost any other major, some colleges or majors are going to be harder to get into. So I think one thing that you'll learn throughout the college process is that the answer to a lot of questions that you may have are, it depends, because schools vary so much in their different policies and their rules. So it's hard to give an answer that's going to work for everybody, for every institution. So that was a great question. Any other questions that you guys have, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll look at that over the next minute or so, if any come in, and we can answer those questions. But in the meantime, we just want to say thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. We really enjoyed helping you guys learn about finding your perfect fit. I know that there are so many more challenges this year. You know, you can't visit campuses as often, and there's just been a lot of uncertainty, but you can still find a college that is going to be great for you. And I think something else that a lot of times people forget is where you start doesn't have to be where you end up. So you can go somewhere and not like it, and there's always the opportunity to transfer. So we hope that you find your perfect fit on the first attempt, but there is always that pathway to transfer if you want to. So hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. This is all of our contact information if you have additional questions after today. If you want to reach out to us, if you have questions about our school, our individual schools, we're more than happy to talk to you. We all work with students from Virginia, so we would love to tell you more about our institutions and help kind of guide you on your college path. So let's see, I do see that we have another question come in. All right, I can answer this unless one of you guys want to pop on video and answer it either, but if you take a gap year, will that affect your college year? I'm not 100% what that question means exactly, but some students do take a gap year, and that is where they, okay, Stacey, do you want to answer it? I just saw you came on there. Maybe not. Okay. But it's basically a gap year is when you take a year between high school and college. Again, every school is going to have very different policies on that. Some schools may not allow you to take a gap year. Some schools may only allow you to take a gap semester. Some schools may want you to apply again. Some schools maybe will hold over your acceptance. So that's a great question to ask the admissions counselors of the individual schools that you are looking at, because it's likely that every school has a very different policy. So yeah. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. And Kim's about to pop on. So thank you guys again so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you guys coming, and best of luck in your college search.
All right. Well, thank you ladies so much for your presentation today. I hope you students really enjoyed it. When you log out of this, you are going to get a very quick 4-question survey that'll appear. Please take the time to answer those questions. Also, again, go to strivescan.com/Virginia in order to sign up for more sessions. And this session will be available on that website as well, as we've recorded all of them. But thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you have a great day. Bye.